Very exciting, huh? Absolutely, it's exciting. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and you are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. All right, we've got so much to cover on this program today. A lot of big developments. I'm going to start here on the Save America Act. And as things stand right here and right now, I think it is safe to say that the Save America Act will pass as of now. Now, listen, anything could happen. I'm not a psychic, but right now we have all the momentum in our favor, and I'm going to go through it as the program goes on here. But the Democrats took to the floor of the Senate. I'm going to play some of the clips as we go through the show here. But the Democrats went on the floor of the Senate yesterday and started making their case. And the argument that the Democrats are making against government-issued photo ID to vote it's not even an argument. You know, it might say it's a weak argument, a pathetic argument. It's not even an argument. They're trying to tell you that women who are married will not be able to vote because the registration does not match their government-issued photo ID. What are they talking about? This is crazy. Where did they get this from? And I think I know where they got it from, which I'll tell you in a moment. It just popped in my brain as I just said it. A light bulb just went up above my Trump 2028 hat, and I realized this is how out of touch with reality they are. But they're trying to tell us that women are registered under their maiden names, and they don't, and they didn't change their voter registration, which is nonsense, of course. And you're going to disenfranchise married women of America, and there's millions of them, and that violates the 19th Amendment. That is not even a weak argument. That is no argument at all, and it's a big change from the past. Voter ID, this is not a new argument. It's not a new debate in this country, but this is the first time it was realistically going to become the law of the land. And in the past, when this came up, this was debated heavily when Obama was president. And the argument the Democrats used then was a weak, pathetic argument. They tried to use it this time around, and it backfired. And what their argument always was that black people don't have ID, and you'll disenfranchise black people, and it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, on and on and on. And that flew 15 years ago. When this first became a debate this time around, they tried to run with it, and black people said, "What are you talking about? Of course we have ID. What are you, racist? Who do you think we are? We don't have ID?" And they got a lot of blowback from blacks about that. So they came up with a new argument, and that's that women don't have updated ID reflecting the name that they're registered to vote under, that either their driver's license is their maiden name or their registration is their maiden name. Well, this is beyond absurd, okay? When women get married and take on the name of their husband, they love to go out and get the new driver's license with their new name on it. It's just something you do. And when you first get married, you don't have to dig around for your marriage license, which is what you need to do it. You got it because you just got married, right? Birth certificates, you don't get the possession of your birth certificate when it's issued. Your parents do. So when you are a grown-up and you need it, mom and dad oftentimes don't have it, so you got to go and get it. But married women, they've got the marriage license. They just got married. They're very excited. As soon as they come back from the honeymoon, they go to the DMV and get their new license. Sometimes even before, they're all excited. A lot of women want to go on their honeymoon with their new ID and everything else. So come on, it's nonsense. Of course, women, and you got to think about this. The Democrats have some of the top liberal legal minds that are, in the country trying to figure out a case against the Save America Act. This is the best they could come up with. So why is this the best argument? I hate to even call it an argument. What can I call it? Because it's not an argument. What does it say about the left that this is the only argument they could come up with, the married women? You know what it says to me? That there is no argument against government-issued photo ID to vote. There is no argument against it. That's it. There's no argument against it. And Thune, I know people are giving Thune a hard time. If Thune betrays us during this, okay, I'll go after him. But right now, I think Thune has done us a great service. Watching these pathetic Democrats, that's why I'm going to play some clips on the program this morning of the Democrats arguing against the Save America Act. And you'll see Thune having these Democrats out on the floor of the Senate, live on television, going viral online, saying these stupid things, helps us pass it even more. All right? So this is the best. Now, when we pass this finally, it may go down to 50 senators vote for it, and J.D. Vance has to come in for the tiebreaker. I don't care. So what? A lot of people are going to make that a loss. Oh, why? Why only 50? And why did J.D. have to do the tiebreaker? Why wasn't it, more? Who cares? All we need are 50 senators to vote in favor of it, and we've got the tiebreaker vote, and it's the law of the land. Government-issued photo ID to vote, proof of citizenship to register to vote, and many other things that are awesome. So who cares if it's 50? Do you care? I don't care. I just want it to pass and be the law of the land because it will change everything. Let me ask you this. California, is it really a blue state? If government-issued photo ID was required in California and proof of citizenship was required to register to vote, would California really be a blue state? Or would it be a purple state? Or maybe even a red state? The Democrats are in hysterics right now because they know they're in trouble. They know they're in trouble big time. After the first break, I'll go through some of their arguments and start going through the audio sound bites. But I want to clear one thing up. In one of the things that makes the case that the Save America Act should pass is the red and blue map from the last presidential election between our favorite president, Donald Trump, and Willie Brown's girlfriend, Kamala Harris. And Democrats are trying to lie about this. They're saying that Kamala Harris, and this is true, Kamala Harris only won states that don't require government-issued photo ID. That's true. She only won states that don't require government-issued photo ID. Now, the Democrats are trying to tell you that's not true. She won states that don't require ID. No. What these other states consider ID is insane. They say she won Virginia. They don't require ID. Or they do require ID, they say. The Democrats say, I misspoke. Democrats say, and I've seen this in the news, seen this on television, Kamala Harris won Virginia. Virginia requires ID. Now, I verified this morning. Do you know what they consider to be ID to vote in Virginia? Your voter registration card and a utility bill. And you don't need both, you just need one. You go in with a utility bill, which is a water bill, electric bill. That's all you need. You go in to vote in Virginia with an electric bill or water bill, you can vote. That's right. They say, oh, she won Nevada. They don't require. They don't require. They require ID. In Nevada, it's the same thing. You can vote in Nevada with a utility bill. Go look it up. Okay, so that a utility bill is not ID. Furthermore, a lot of places around the country, including red states, red states have a lot of blue counties in them, right? A lot of states require photo ID, but they accept a student ID from a college or university. Well, just because you have a college ID does not mean that you're eligible to vote for a variety of reasons. And by the way, the Save America Act will do away with that. It may be photo ID on campus, but not to vote. Try to board a plane with college ID. Good luck. This is why the Democrats are in a panic. You know, the college ID scam is one of the big Democrat election go-getters. I mean, they spend a lot of time on that. And a lot of the college kids vote twice. They vote where they go to college, and they vote home where they really live with mommy and daddy. So a lot of times, it's not just that they may be voting, they may live in that state, but they're using the college ID to vote twice in that state. And they're probably a Democrat if they're a college student in most instances, correct? If they're doing something crooked and they're voting, yeah. So, you know, President Trump has rallies. The Democrats don't have rallies, right? And the reason they don't have rallies is because of all these things that the Save America Act will end. And everybody knows it. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. That's right, celebrating 49 years on the radio. It's raining this morning. Oh man, it's raining and it's cold. It was 57 degrees when I got in my car this morning. Can you believe it? 57 degrees and raining. Yeah, it's raining. On this rainy morning, if you have a wet spot on your ceiling, that means you've got a leak in your roof. You want to call Tom Leaporta. You want to call him this morning. Tom Leaporta is a good MAGA guy. He will not sell you a roof you do not need. If you've got a wet spot on your ceiling, you do have a leak on your roof, and Tom Leaporta will come out and take a look. And if you need just a simple repair, he'll tell you, okay? And he'll do the repair. Now, of course, you may need a new roof, and he'll take care of that too. But you can trust that if you just need a simple repair, Tom Leaporta will tell you, okay? He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He can handle any type of structure, whether it's residential, commercial, municipal. He works with every type of roofing material. Did I say he covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between? Absolutely. So if you're hearing my voice, he'll help you. Also, he can handle the job of any size, whether it's one home, one office building, one apartment building, or an HOA that has over 450 units. He can handle it. Give him a call or text 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602, and online, LeportaRoofing.com. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll take our first break and be right back. All right, we're clear. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether you think the Save America Act is going to pass. I think as it is right now, it is going to pass. And we have everything going our way. We've got all the momentum. And you know what the Democrats have? Nothing. The Democrats have absolutely nothing. And you know what? They know it. All right, I got to get a couple things queued up for the next segment here. Let's see, where are we going to go? Oh yes, okay. Yeah, I know where I'm gonna go when we get back. Okay, I'm just waiting. Okay. Okay, we'll be back in just a quick bit. I'm going to take a quick break and be right back. And by the way, TEI, the Epstein investigation, it is an incredibly investigative, researched book by the author Cody Churchwell. There's a direct link to the book in the description of the video, and it's available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and free with Kindle Unlimited. So order yours. Yeah, free with Kindle Unlimited, and the link is in the description of the video. TEI, the Epstein investigation. I've started reading this book. It is fascinating. And if you think you're well-versed and informed on the everything Epstein, you are not. This book is mind-blowing. And I'll tell you, it's incredibly well-written and will pull you in. TEI, the Epstein investigation. Link is in the description, all right? Free on Kindle Unlimited. All right, we got less than a minute, and we'll be back. And I'm going to get to more of this. Oh, man, what a great day, guys. What a great day. I tell you, the Save America Act, it is like a dream come true, passing the Save America Act, isn't it? It is a dream come true. I'm here to tell you. But that's what President Trump's doing. He's doing all these things that we just didn't think were possible. All right, hold on. We got about 20 seconds left. Yep. Stand by. I got to catch up on my caffeine, guys. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. And, you know, this requiring photo ID to vote and proof of citizenship to register to vote, I've got to pinch myself that this is actually happening, right? You know, President Trump, so much of what he does, he's doing the things that no one else even attempted to do because they thought it was impossible, right? And that began with the shutting down the border and the border wall and the deportations. You know, the border issue has been a problem forever. And the southern border in particular, and the cartels and everything. And Steve and I would get a lot of heat. This is before Trump came down the escalator. I'm talking about when Bush was president and stuff. Steve and I didn't talk a lot about the southern border issue, and people would get really mad at us. And the reason we didn't is because no one in Washington was going to do anything about it, and we knew it. And we would tell people, I just can't get motivated by something that's not going to happen with these guys in Washington. And people would get really angry at us. And then Trump came down the escalator and he said, I'm going to close the border. I'm going to build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it, which they did, by the way. And I'm going to do mass deportations. And here we are in his second and non-consecutive term, and all of it has happened. That is a miracle in itself. If that is all President Trump did in his 2 terms, that would be a job well done of the greatest Republican president in my lifetime. He should go down in history, and he should be added to Mount Rushmore just for that. But he's done so much more beyond that. Overturning Roe v. Wade. Republicans have been trying to and talking about, well, not trying, they've been talking about overturning Roe v. Wade, which is forever. It was the first thing on the Republican Party platform. And Trump did it. Not only did Trump do it, when Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, there were no protests in the streets of America. I talked about this at the time. You know, I thought when President Trump overturned Roe v. Wade and it was about to happen, remember when Kavanaugh got confirmed and all those lunatic women in the Handmaid's Tale costumes were banging on the front door of the Supreme Court trying to stop the swearing in? None of those women were in the streets of America. There were no protests throughout America of women against the overturning of Roe v. Wade when Trump did it. It wasn't even controversial. You know why? Because most of the country agreed with him on it. These are all things that no one attempted to do that people thought were impossible. And I'm going to tell you this, a man who overturned Roe v. Wade can get the Save America Act passed. In the second term, the mass deportations, yeah, we had the Minneapolis rebellion, but we got it under, he got it under control. We have deported millions of illegals. Millions more have self-deported. The entire southern border has been closed down. We are now at about a year without a single illegal crossing. And Minneapolis is an offshoot of the rest of the country. There's mass deportations going on from sea to shining sea every day of the week. There are no nationwide protests. They got a couple things going in some radical, lunatic, liberal cities. They had a brief battle in Los Angeles and then the Minneapolis uprising, but there's been no protest nationwide against the deportations that are still going on, right? And the reason is these things that President Trump is doing are 80, 90% issues where 80 to 90% of the American people agree with it. And the Save America Act is another one. Now, I found this clip today on X. This is Schumer. This is a long time ago. This is Chuck Schumer when he used to be in the House of Representatives before he was polluting the Senate with his presence. This is Schumer years ago when he was in the House. There you go. So he's arguing for ID back in the House. I never thought I'd agree with Charles Schumer, but I agree with Chuck Schumer back in 19, whatever year that was, 90 something, that ID should be required for voting and everything else. Oh my goodness. All right. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. Callers on hold. You hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. My name is Brian Craig. This is Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, where MAGA comes to talk. We'll take a quick break and be right back. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's correct. You know, students, what will happen is right now, you don't need any ID to register to vote, right? But how many foreign students do we have? Or out of state students? And how many of them are registered to vote and vote? What? Tribal IDs? I've never heard of a tribal ID. I mean, I can guess what it is. Native American Indians are U.S. citizens. They can vote. And you know what? They have government issued photo ID as well. You know why? Because they drive. Now, here in Florida, we have two great tribes, the Miccosukee, a little smaller, and then the Seminole, Indian tribe of Florida. Do they have tribal IDs? Okay. But they have Florida driver's licenses too, if they drive. They have Florida driver's licenses because they're driving on Florida roads. I've never heard of a tribal driver's license before. First of all, why would tribes want that? Right? What I mean is, why would Indian tribes want the hassle of having their own tribal DMV? Indians have driver's licenses too. By the way, I forgot her name. I think, is that Patty Murray? That hair, oh my goodness, just horrendous. And don't you love how the Democrats, all of a sudden, they're the defender of Indians, right? The Democrats are the ones, they killed all the Indians. Trail of Tears and all of that, that's all Democrats. Now, this is Ted Lieu, who's a real beaut. And one of Mike Lindell's Lindell TV girls caught him in the hallway, asked a pretty good question. Listen to his ridiculous answer. Right, people with guns. These aren't, if ICE were at polling places, okay, with guns, these aren't people with guns. These are police with guns. These are federal agents with guns. These are cops. They're law enforcement. Who's worried? Think about it now. Ted Lieu here. What an idiot. Who's the average person that gets nervous when cops are around? You know who? Criminals that are wanted. Oh my goodness. He's fine with that? Oh yeah. Really? Tell that to your donors. Tell that to your donors that have been donating money to you and all the other members of Congress, and they're owed. They donated every dollar that the law would allow them to donate, and they expect that money back many times over in the form of government contracts through the earmarks in the bills that you can't pass. So while these Democrats may be talking tough and be all butch, when I don't care if they don't pass any legislation. I don't care. Believe me, their donors care. And you know what? They're going to care too. And they're in big, big trouble. Okay, now listen to this. Um, Here's another Democrat senator speaking. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll get to the calls in a few minutes. Oh. Whose vote is being suppressed? Oh my goodness. I love this. I love this. You know, the thing with the Democrats are always wrong about everything. And in this instance, it's hard for me to say that they have a weak argument. And the reason it's hard for me to say that they have a weak argument is because they have no argument at all for any of this. Now, I want to tell you guys about the great Mike Lindell. That was one of his great reporters talking to Lou there, putting him on the spot. I'm of the opinion, that the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper is the biggest life-changing product Mike Lindell has, even more so than the MyPillow. My wife and I have been sleeping on the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper for years. It turns your entire bed into a big MyPillow. If you have a lumpy mattress, a lopsided mattress, or for any reason think you need a new mattress, don't do it. Get the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper. And right now, with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper is 30% off. But wait, there's more. Not only is the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper 30% off with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE at MyPillow.com, you also get 2 free MyPillows, 2 free MyPillow pillowcases, and free shipping with our promo code KANE. It's a great deal. Mother's Day's coming up, Father's Day's coming up. Great gift for your wife, great gift for your mom, great gift for your grandma, your dad, yourself, your children. Get it. We've given these as gifts to people. They love it. And I've been sleeping on mine since they've been available. So however many years they've had them. And like everything else Mike Lindell makes, high quality. Ours looks like the day we got it. You can also order by phone, toll free, 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879. Promo code KANE, KANE. We'll be right back. We'll be back in 5 seconds. We're back, everyone, and we'll go to the phones. Our number, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine, Brian.
Hey, Jeff. What's up?
The Democrats is just exposing more and more how much they hate America.
Yep.
They're going to come up with a talking point of why Save America Act's bad, voter suppression. The only voter suppression is illegal voters.
Yeah. Which covers a broad brush. That doesn't mean just illegals. That means dead people, people that don't exist, everything,
Yeah. Why doesn't every state, every 3 years or 4, whatever it would take, and to take off all the dead people from the voter rolls? Well, the Democrats won't do it because all the dead voters vote Democrat.
That's amazing.
It's so obvious.
I wonder what it is about.
Maybe
somebody out there knows. Maybe you know, Jeff. What is it about the Democrat Party platform that attracts the dead vote? Why do the dead feel the Democrats represent them better than the Republicans, I wonder? You ever thought about that?
That's funny, Brian, because when you think of it, once you're dead, this body's dead. It can't make any decisions.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Right?
I hear people talking about the Jewish lobby. Do they have a lobby group in D.C.? RIP or something? I don't know. What's the dead lobby called? Does anybody know? The lobby of the dead? Oh, my goodness.
But, the Democrats, we've said this for a couple of years, Brian. Every time they open their mouth, every time they take a stand, it's anti-American, anti-we the people, anti-Constitution, and they just expose themselves how evil they are. We are fighting evil. This is good versus evil. It's no longer left and right or Republican and conservative. Republican.
But
Democrat.
when the Save America Act, the Democrats are telling people things that hadn't been discussed, like the college ID scam, right? College kids voting in states they don't, voting in 2 states. This is going to pass. It's going to pass.
And, one more thing on mail-in ballots. Initially, it was for the military and government officials serving overseas so they could vote. And there was a reason for it. Now it's for, I don't feel like going in. It's used to be abused.
Or I'm dead, or I'm dead or never existed.
Correct. So we need to clamp down on the mail-in ballots. Voter integrity is so important, and we're going to see how well Trump did clearing it up.
Jeff, this is why I call this President Trump and the MAGA movement. President Trump's a civil rights leader, because with the Save America Act, we are in the United States. We have the illusion of freedom, but we're really not. We're a lot freer than we were because of Trump's reelection, but because of the overrepresentation of Democrats in government at every level, from the local all the way up, without voter ID being required, without proof of citizenship to register, we're not truly a free people.
The last time I was at my voting poll, I was talking to a lot of people, and I got a pretty deep voice, so my voice carries. And I said, our rights don't come from government. Our rights come from God, and they're protected in the U.S. Constitution.
That's right.
And the Communist Democrat Party, and I'll tell you what, that Democrat mayor in my town, eyes rolled right in the back of her head, but she didn't say nothing because she was so mad, because it's the truth. Our rights come from God, and they are protected in the Constitution. And when it's that's what needs to be taught in school, Brian. We need to start teaching the Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and true law. That's really important, and I've said this, you and I agree on this. Education is the key, because if we do everything and don't change our education, they're going to still brainwash the kids. We need to start at the school level to start and get all that other DEI bullcrap, transgender, gender mutilation and all that crap out of school. This is ridiculous.
Well,
America
if we have the Save America Act, you'll start to see big changes on school boards and everything else in this country.
Yeah. And it starts in the PTA meetings. Remember parent-teacher conferences?
Yes.
Our teachers, our parents went in and talked several times a year to make sure they were teaching things right. And we need to take back our schools through the PTAs.
That's right.
And start that again.
That's right.
Parents
All right, Jeff,
involved.
I agree with everything you said. Good points today. Back to the Democrats in the Senate with, oh boy, pathetic. Oh, yeah. So your voting data is going to be put in some kind of Elon Musk machine now. They're trying to scare you. You know, have you ever noticed that when election time is coming up, you get all this junk mail? And the junk mail is to people that are running for office, promoting them, that are running in the party that you're registered in. Have you never noticed that? My wife and I, we're both registered Republicans. We get a lot of political junk mail. By the way, if you're running for political office, advertise on our radio stations. Call the radio station. That stuff in the mail is a waste of money. Advertise on our radio stations, guys. I'm telling you. But if you noticed that your junk mail that you get for politicians when election time comes around is only from politicians of the party of which you're registered, how do you think they... No. I don't get any Democrat mailers in the mailbox. My wife and I are both registered Republicans. You know why? Because they have access to the voter registration to get the mailing list. That's why. So Klobuchar here can talk all day and night about you're going to be put in databases. Everyone is. In fact, she uses that database every time she runs, as do the rest of them. Here's the great Ted Cruz yesterday. That's correct. That's correct, Ted Cruz. You are correct. Oh, by the way, speaking of Mom Donnie in New York, you know, yesterday was a big day in New York, St. Patrick's Day and all that. And I was watching all that at St. Patrick's Cathedral, and I was watching Mom Donnie up there with that absurd smile sitting up there. And I was, you know, watching the great Irish people of New York, you know, and I saw one guy, he was interviewed on Fox, I think it was by Martha McCallum. And I really feel bad for Martha McCallum. You can tell that Martha McCallum is having a hard time growing old. She's in her 60s. She looks great. She doesn't look anywhere near her age, but you can tell she's having a lot of issues with aging. She just, you know. But anyway, I guess, you know, a woman on television. But she looks great. But anyway, she was interviewing this one Irish guy from the police department, and he was talking about the struggles of the Irish in the early days in New York. And he was talking about how, you know, nobody wanted to hire us, but we spoke English, so we were able to get in, you know, and it was so true. And the Irish, and the role of the Irish in this country is just, whatever somebody tells you, it's understated. The Irish were great builders of this country. And I was watching this St. Patrick's event with all the people with all their Irish stuff on at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And then I saw Mom Donnie there in the front row, and he was smiling ear to ear. And I could tell what he was thinking. You know what he was thinking? Well, it's our city now. You Irish are out. This is our city now. We've taken it. It's true, isn't it? It really is. I mean, that's definitely what was going through his mind. And it was rather disturbing, quite frankly. All right, and hold on a second here. Let me check the time. Okay, I want to tell everyone about Jamie Levac over at Swift Tax. Oh, man. First of all, I want to thank all of you in this audience who have gone to Jamie Levac for your taxes. Jamie Levac at Swift Tax, he is a new sponsor here on the program and joined us for the first time during the beginning of this tax season. He joined us in January. And so many of you have responded and are using Jamie Levac at Swift Tax and have used him for your taxes. And I want to thank all of you in this listening audience who have done that. Thank you very much for your support of this program, of our radio station, and of Jamie Levac at Swift Tax. Listen, those of you that haven't, call him. He does incredible work. You know, when I first met him and he started going over the new tax code with me in person, I met him in person at his office, because the entire tax code has changed with the big, beautiful bill. I was just so impressed with him. And I'm here to tell you, I've known many an accountant, many a tax professional in my lifetime. I've never had one that impressed me with their knowledge as much as Jamie Levac. And the other thing is, he loves doing taxes for people because he likes saving you money and getting you returns. Okay? You know, Jamie Levac will make sure that you get all the deductions that you are entitled to. And he'll make sure that you get the largest return that you are owed from the government. And I've been hearing from listeners in this audience that are getting returns 4 times larger than the past. It's amazing, and God bless you, and that's awesome. Call Jamie Levac. Remember, Jamie Levac at Swift Tax can help you with your taxes no matter where you are in the United States. His office is in Broward, and if you're local, you of course can meet with him in person if you'd like. But you don't have to. If you're local or anywhere in the United States, you can handle everything over the phone with Jamie Levac, okay? Give him a call or text 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. That's 954-773-1587 for Jamie Levac at Swift Tax. All right. We're approaching the top of the hour break, so if you're on hold, stand by. We'll go to the phones after the top of the hour. You're welcome to call in about anything I brought up so far in the program. I've got a lot more to share that we're going to get into after the top of the hour. Our number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. We'll take our break for the top and be right back. And remember, 30% off the MyPillow mattress topper and free shipping, and 2 free MyPillows and 2 free MyPillow mattress toppers with our promo code Kane. All right, we have 20 seconds until we're back. If you're on hold, hang in there. Oh, man, if you'd like to call in, the toll-free number is pinned in the live chat, guys. Oh, all right, we're back. I'm Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. So, yeah, we've got all the momentum to pass the Save America Act. And the Democrats, they have no momentum and they have no base of support. Listen to this. CNN yesterday, latest poll, the popularity of congressional Democrats. Wow. So in the whole history of polling, the Democrats are polling lower than they have ever polled. How are they going to win this? We got it. We got it. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
You know, man, if you remember, the first thing I ever told you when I called years ago was that there was 50,000 fake votes.
Hold on one second here.
For Dinkins.
Yeah.
For Dinkins back then. So these Democrats have been cheating for so long that, of course, they're going to be against the Save America Act. You know, I guess they certainly realize that if they don't have any fake votes, they're not going to win. So they're against it. So they come up with all these dumb excuses. Oh, you can't make it harder for you to vote. Yeah, a little harder maybe, but it's not going to be anything terrible.
Nothing worth doing is easy. Remember President Kennedy, we don't go to the moon and do the other things because it's easy. We do it because it's hard. Right? It's hard. Yeah, okay, New York you have to have ID to register, but not to vote. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't know why they ever came up with this. How they ever allowed that to start at any time to me, it doesn't make sense. You always should have ID. You need ID for everything, so I'm thinking this is going to pass for sure. I can't say how it's not going to pass. And if this senator goes against us, man, then I'm done with him. That's for sure. Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
The other thing I want to say is that I feel bad for President Trump. He has this guy who decides he's supposed to be an expert on Iran to quit on him because there's no threat.
Oh, you're talking about this Joe Kent guy? No, this guy here.
Yeah.
They've been on to him for a long time. He was involved in that Signal chat leak. In fact, it was his fault that it happened, apparently. And they've known for a while that this guy was being used by the Trump administration. They knew he worked for Pete Hegseth, and he was responsible for the Signal chat. Remember when that reporter got in there and stuff, and the leaking and all of that?
Yeah.
And do you know who he worked for? Who he used to work for?
I have no idea.
The CIA. He's a CIA guy.
Oh.
And
okay.
He's a CIA guy. He was leaking for Hegseth. They put him over there with Tulsi Gabbard, and they've been using him. This was talked about by In the Know people yesterday. Okay, they were using him to spread misinformation to Tucker and the Iranians.
Well,
he didn't know it.
That was smart.
He didn't know it, but he was being used to leak information. And over the weekend, we're talking about this Kent character. Over the weekend, remember I was talking about this a couple days ago on the program. Tucker Carlson announced that he was under investigation by the CIA, which is very unusual for a U.S. citizen, especially someone high profile, to not only be under CIA investigation, because that's not really their mission, but to announce it. But he did. And this Kent character is in tight with Tucker. They're really tight. He's been on his show.
Oh, okay.
They're really tight. Yeah. So no, he was part of a misinformation intelligence operation to the Iranians and God knows who else.
Iranians. Well, and then he quit, and what does he say? There was no threat, and I'm hearing from liberals, why do we go to Iran for? I said, what the hell's wrong with you? You know, I said, you know all the reasons why. You just don't want to accept them. But so I'm not even going to bother telling you. So this is what these people are just brainwashed, and they believe everything they hear from CNN and the rest of them, and then this guy turns around and says that one thing. If I was working for President Trump and I couldn't stand what he was doing, what you do is you walk away and you say, "Oh, I have other things I want to do." You don't come out and say, "Well, I'm leaving." You know, there's no loyalty, whatever, to these people. It's really sickening to me.
Yeah, they're scum. All right, Doug, I appreciate the call. All right. Okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian, Vincent Wellington.
Hey, Vince, what's up?
Yeah, I just think it's crazy how they're trying to portray like MAGA is dying across a lot of these platforms, you know. And
yeah.
Trying their best to sway the people that they know are swayable, and they realize their internal polling for Democrats is just horrible, as it's been the last 6 elections, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you know, including midterms and everything else, but. If they can't gin up turnout over the Iran war, and they can't gin up turnout over gas prices, then they're done. They don't have any. They have nothing.
Well, think about it. Think about it. President Trump is polling higher than Obama and Bush at this point in their second terms. The Democrats in Congress are polling lower than in the history of polling. So who's gonna win the Save America Act debate?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. And they're trying to portray the mainstream media. They're trying to portray that we're faltering as far as MAGA goes, but Trump and being on the Trump train is bigger than just Trump. It's an American movement.
That's right.
That started. You know, it's a freedom movement, and they don't understand it. So all they do is try to demonize it through one person.
Yep.
And it's
but what I'm seeing from these Democrat senators is panic. They're terrified.
Right.
Because they know,
right.
We don't know, how much of their representation is fake, right? Because we don't have the Save America Act now. You and I don't know. We know it's big. We don't know. The Democrats know.
Right.
The Democrats know the exact number of them that are only there because proof of citizenship and ID isn't required. They know. And they know it's going to pass.
But, I mean, in California alone, they're talking about 200,000 to 300,000 people will be ineligible to vote. And they're trying to call them citizens.
More.
But they're not citizens.
That might be in LA County. There's maybe even more than in LA County. Give me a break.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's almost unintelligible that they would try to claim that these people are citizens somehow when they're not. Oh, they're not legal. But, well, if they're not legal, then they're not citizens. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And
well, they've changed. The Democrats have decided that an American, when they say American, they don't mean citizens of the United States. They mean anyone that is in North or South America. If you're just in North or South America, they're saying you're an American.
Yeah, they were trying to teach that in school when I was in school, trying to call all these people Americans.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
In world history and in history class, they tried to call these people Americans just because they're from South America.
No.
When there's, 30 countries in South America?
Yeah.
40 countries in South
America?
America?
They're not Americans.
You know?
They're not Americans.
No. And they're trying to portray the SAVE Act as if it's something racist or it's going to eliminate black people from being able to vote and all these crazy things.
Married women won't be able to vote. Yeah, all these things.
Yeah, they've always done this, though. It's just like the devil. These evil people are exactly the same. It's a campaign of whispers and fear. You know, they try to create fear in these older people and in these minority classes that they feel have no intelligence.
But you know what, though? I think for the most part, we've gotten beyond that. That's why over 70% of African Americans support the Save America Act.
Right, and Hispanic Americans that are legal, they've only trended higher for Trump. So why would they trend lower? Because he's kicking people out that are literally trying to jump the line.
Exactly. All right, Vince, appreciate the call. You make some good points. All right, take care, take care. You know, as I was talking earlier, it's raining out there and the roads are wet. You don't want to be out on the roads on tires that don't have proper tread. Go to Friendly Tire in Margate. You know, before I found Friendly Tire in Margate many, many years ago, I would drive around on tires I shouldn't be driving around on. But you get such great deals on tires, both new and used, at Friendly Tire in Margate. No one needs to drive on tires that don't have proper tread, especially on these wet, rainy days like today. Friendly Tire in Margate, you can get new tires. These are brand new tires out the door and on the road for as low as $75 a tire. That's right. And when I say as low as $75 a tire out the door and on the road, remember what that means is this. Friendly Tire doesn't charge you to balance the tire, mount the tire, or dispose of your old tires. So the price that Friendly might quote you over the phone is out the door and on the road. He has thousands of good used tires in stock, as low as $35 a tire, and that's out the door and on the road as well. He also does tire repairs, which he did for me a couple of weeks ago, and he has all the name brands you know and love. He can get tires for any type of vehicle as well. Give Friendly Tire a call. He'll give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. That's 954-977-9445. We'll be right back. All right, we'll be back shortly. Hang in there. If you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll free and pinned in the live chat. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are located. All right. Hang in there, guys. Oh, I'm loving this. This SAVE Act, this is the best, isn't it? Doesn't get better than this. Stand by. All right, so the Save America, the Democrats, with this, not even, I can't even call it a pathetic argument because it's no argument about women. They haven't changed their name. You know, they're trying to tell you that women, because they change their name when they get married, that the name on their ID doesn't match what they are registered as, assuming they're registered under their maiden name. How many women, think about it now, how many women live where they lived before they got married? You had to move, right? No matter what, you've moved. You got married, you got a husband, you got a house together, or you moved to, maybe you don't own a house, but you got an apartment together. You moved. And when you move, what do? If you're interested in voting, you register to vote where you live. You've got to, right? You've got to register to move where you live now because you're in the wrong precinct. Even if you're in the same county, you're in the wrong precinct. These arguments are sad, but you know, the argument they haven't been making is this. There's two. One, what about the transgender people? Oh, these trans people, they're telling us there's so many of them. I mean, like everybody, every other person's trans now, they want to tell us. Trans people, they go get the sex change operation and they change their name. And they go and get a driver's license. I haven't heard anybody from the Democrat Party talk about the trans can't vote because their registered name doesn't match their new gender. And they do change their name when they get the sex change operation, right? Why aren't they making that case? Is it because there aren't that many trans people, or they think that'll alienate people? What, gay marriage, they're talking about, when they talk about women and their maiden names, they don't say maiden name much because Democrats don't like that word, maiden. But what about gays? Gay marriage has been legal since Obama was president, right? So it's been legal for a long time. There are a lot of gays that are married. What do gay people do when they get married? Do they change their names? I don't know. I've heard of people hyphenating their names. The gay people, they hyphenate their names sometimes if they're really hardcore about it. Or do they not change their names? I don't know what the gays do. But married women, when I think of all the women I know that are married, and I don't really think I know any unmarried ladies, I don't know any married woman that lives where she lived before she married her husband. I don't even live where I live when my wife and I first got married, right? This is the third or fourth place we've lived since we've been married. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, yeah, the fourth. This is the fourth place my wife and I have lived together. And we've had to register to vote in each of those locations because, well, the last time we moved from one county to another, but we moved from one city to another the other 3 times, and different precincts on top of that. We always register to vote. And I remember when my wife and I got married, I couldn't believe how easy it was for my wife to change her name on everything. We got married, we had the marriage license, and she did everything, like in a day or two. And that was 30 years ago, before we had all this internet stuff we have now. It was more difficult then than it is now. We weren't back from our honeymoon for a week before she had everything changed. Women get excited about doing that. Bank accounts, driver's licenses, and it's easy. All you need is the marriage license, which you have when you first get married. But the Democrats are trying to tell us women don't do this. Listen, here's one of they put out this series of absurd videos. Okay, now this is a Maryland Democrat. Yes. Yes. Exactly. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? And I'll tell you this, okay? When I first got my passport, which was, oh gosh, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, the first time I got a passport, I didn't have my birth certificate. This was 20 plus years ago. I didn't have my birth certificate. My mother couldn't find my birth certificate. I was not born in the state in which I live. So this was over 20 years ago. I went online. I had a trip coming up out of the country. And I didn't think this was going to be a problem. I already paid for it and everything. I had to get my birth certificate. I had to get my birth certificate fast. I went online. This is over 20 years ago, before all the new tech we have today. And I found a company that does this for you nationwide. They go in person. So I went online. It was less than $70. Now, this was 20 plus years ago. It was 60, 65 bucks. I had the next day, I had my birth certificate with the raised seal the next day at my house delivered. I was able to go online over 20 years ago, find somebody in about 60 seconds or less who went in person to the clerk in the county that I was born in, got the physical birth certificate with the raised seal right there from the clerk's office, and FedExed it to me, and I had it the next day and got my passport. Went in person and got my passport the next day. It's simple. Anyone can do it. And that was before we had all the modern gizmos we have now. But anyway, let me get back to this Maryland Democrat. What is it? What's wrong with that? Correct. At risk. At risk if they don't fix it, right? Remember last week, I had Ian from Cruise and Travel Depot may have called. Did he call this week about this? I think it was last week. Ian from Cruise and Travel Depot called in. We got our MAGA cruise. We leave on Sunday. And we talked about, and I mentioned this a couple times on the air, make sure that you register, because if you don't register with the cruise line and you show up and there's a misspelling on your name compared to what's on your passport, you'll be denied boarding, right? And we've had people on every one of our, I don't think we've taken a cruise where someone didn't do it wrong. And because we tell everybody to register early with the cruise line, Ian catches it and it gets fixed, and no one has been denied boarding. She didn't say would be denied the vote. I got a sneeze coming on. Oh, wait. I'll try to sneeze during the break. Hold on, guys. She said risk, not will be, right? I didn't make it. Sorry. I tried to hold the sneeze till the break. It's almost break time. I couldn't do it. Thank you for the bless yous. If your driver's license and voter registration don't match, you got plenty of time to fix it. You just got to fix it. No, it's keep going with that, okay? It's not 1919, okay? Okay, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our break for the bottom. I'll finish my sneezing because they come in threes and I only had one. So we'll take our break for the bottom, come back with your calls and much more. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. My name is Brian. We'll be right back. Ugh. All right. Listen to this, guys. I wanted to play this for you during the break because I got to check the language. This is, they're interviewing people about gas prices, okay, and what they think about gas prices. This is MS Now. Wow. This is Pennsylvania. Okay, now they're saying that this next woman's a MAGA woman. Now listen to what she says. I'm playing it now because I want to make sure that it's radio safe. But ask yourself this, is she really a MAGA voter? Okay, do you okay? That's radio safe. I'll play that when we get back. Yes or no? Is she really a Trump voter? Give me a break. Give me a break. Just like these jokers that call me all the time claiming to be Trump voters. BS on that one. BS on that one. I'm going to call total BS on that one. Okay, we got a little bit of time till we're back. Hang in there, guy. I took that bottom of the hour break late. If I took it on time, I could have sneezed during the break. Oh, man, I tell you. Let's see. We got about a minute, and we'll be back, guys. Stand by. Almost back. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. Okay, so gas prices. I saw this on X, and it's a story from MS Now, the lowly rated cable news network formerly known as MSDNC. Although I always call them MS13BC. I always like that one, but that one never caught on. But anyway, they did this story on gas prices. And they go to the gas pumps at a gas station in Pennsylvania. Oh, before I forget, you know, Fetterman, remember I tell you guys, watch Fetterman, he can't be trusted. Fetterman goes on television and talks like he's MAGA, and then he always votes with the Democrats. You know, yesterday, Fetterman voted against the SAVE Act debate. He voted to not allow the debate yesterday. He voted against us on that. You can't trust Fetterman. Anyway, so MS Now, they send a reporter to a gas station in Pennsylvania, and this also aired on Meet the Depressed over the weekend, and interviewed people at the gas station about the gas prices, okay? And their answers are pretty surprising. And then at the end, something happened, which we'll talk about when we get there. Okay, so everyone he talks to up until this point on MS Now is fine with a sacrifice of a couple of extra quarters a gallon to liberate the people of Iran and rid the world of Islamic terrorism, right? I mean, people think, okay, yeah, I got to pay a couple quarters more a gallon. It'll go back down. It always does. It's worth it. The pain at the pump is worth ending the pain of Islamic terrorism from Iran, all that stuff. All right. So then, in this gas station in Pennsylvania, then, I tell you, these people, they find a woman who she's very upset about the gas prices and says that she voted for Trump not once, not twice, but 3 times. And there is a bleep here, and the bleep does cut out her salty language. Listen. Okay, now here comes the MAGA voter who's not happy with the gas prices, okay? Listen to this and ask yourself, is she MAGA? Did she vote for Trump? Okay, now, okay, I got the bleep in there. So would anyone who ever voted for Trump, and she's going to tell you more, who's upset about gas prices ever refer to President Trump as a worthless piece of that? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, a lot to process there, including she's totally full of it. You know, you notice the fake MAGA people, and you hear them when they call me. Oh, man, hold on, guys. I apologize. You hear that when they call me. That, you know, these fake MAGA people that are all Democrats. It's not enough for them to say they voted for Trump. They always got to tell you that they voted for him 3 times. Okay. And I am here to tell you that no one who voted for President Trump would ever refer to him using such language. There's just no way. There's just no way. You know, and the Democrat constituency is such a tiny. I would bet you it is safe to say that at this point in time there are fewer Democrats, card-carrying Democrats in America today than ever before in any of our lifetimes. President Trump not only retook the Republican Party, he's totally decimated the Democrat Party. It's really amazing. And the only dissent they can find are lying Democrats, the few that are left, who are trying to pass themselves off as one of us, MAGA. All right, we're going to take our last break of the second hour. It's the Steve Kane Show. I want to tell you about this great offer from Sloman's. Oh, man. Sloman's Home Security is offering a free home security system as well as free professional installation, and you also get 24/7 central station monitoring with this for just $24.95 a month, and you're locked in for 5 years at that $24.95 a month. It's a free home security system and professional installation, absolutely free. Your Sloman's home security system includes a touchscreen keypad, 3 door or window sensors, a motion detector, notification, and remote keypad access. Give them a call right now, no matter where you're located, 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050. Callers on hold, you stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 888-465-2631. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. I'm really messed up here because I took that bottom of the hour break late, so. All right, welcome back. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. I want to talk about Dr. Appleton and his robotic laser away pain treatment. You know, I was talking yesterday about a character actor from the 70s and 80s who passed away this week due to complications from back surgery. And, you know, if you've been told you need surgery, before you get your body cut open, go see Dr. Appleton. Take advantage of the no-charge consultation. And let Dr. Appleton tell you and show you what he can do for your pain. I want you to think about it. Now, maybe your experience is different than mine, but I've known a lot of people, men and women, mostly men, who tell me that they're going in for some type of surgery for pain. Usually it's shoulder or knee, but it's sometimes back. And I'll see them and they're like, oh yeah, I got my surgery coming up for my knee that's been hurting me forever and all this. And next time I see them, it might be 6 months. And I was like, how's the knee? And they're like, oh, I got my second surgery scheduled next month. I'm like, your second surgery? What do you mean? Well, you know, the first surgery only did this, and it's going to be the second, and then the third. I'm like, what? When I went in for that really massive shoulder pain I had, I thought that I was going to have surgery. I took a big fall on my skateboard. It hurt like no one's business. I was almost in tears, and I thought I was going to have surgery. I thought I had some kind of serious injury that required surgery. Dr. Appleton examined me. He told me what was wrong. He treated me with the laser away pain treatment, and the pain went away, and it didn't return. In fact, I saw relief right away, and I told Dr. Appleton, I said, man, if I'd have gone to the orthopedic surgeon, they'd have had the surgery scheduled for the beginning of next week, you know. But the laser away pain treatment works. Give Dr. Appleton a call. Remember, it's a no-charge consultation. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. If you have x-rays or scans, bring them with you. He'll look them over, all right? 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com. All right, so yesterday there was a big to-do made out of this Joe Kent creep resigning. And I got a theory on this guy that I'm going to run by you. It was announced yesterday that he's going to be interviewed by Tucker. Yeah, not surprising. He's been on with Tucker before. I had this thought pop in my mind really early yesterday when this story broke. I was watching the press conference that the president had in the Oval Office yesterday with the Irish Prime Minister. And when he took questions, when the press started asking about this Joe Kent character, they were going nuts. How many of you heard of Joe Kent before yesterday? How many of you? Probably very few. You may have seen him on Tucker. If you follow Steve Bannon, you may have heard of him. But how many of you really heard of Joe Kent before yesterday? I wouldn't have known the name if you ran it by me. He's a little familiar with and with a couple of mind cues. Oh yeah, I saw him over there, but I didn't know his name before yesterday. But the press were going nuts. You know why they were going nuts? Because in D.C., everybody knows who he is. He's a D.C. insider. And what they were trying to do with this guy, Joe Kent, now I didn't know his name before yesterday. I know it now. And I don't think many of you knew it either. And most people that claim that they did are lying because they just want to sound like they're in the know. But Washington insiders knew who he was, but regular people like you and me didn't know who he was. But the media, because in their circles in the Washington press corps, everybody knows who he is, they thought they had a scandal here. Oh, Joe Kent resigned. Oh, he resigned again. He's standing up against the war in Iran, said they weren't a threat, which is absurd. And it's all, if you're on hold, stand by. I want to get this out, and if you want to call in or you're on hold, I probably won't get the calls till the next hour, guys, okay? There's so much going on. Remember what Rush Limbaugh used to say, the late, great Rush. I tell you, Rush was amazing, just amazing. And one of the things he talked about was with the Democrats, he says the left, they have no new plays. They got that old tired playbook. They use the same old plays every time. And back in the Vietnam War, they would have insiders. In Vietnam, they would have people coming out against the war and stuff. And because everybody in Washington knows who Joe Kent is because he's a Washington insider, they think we all know who he is. None of us heard of this guy before yesterday. He's vaguely familiar to me, but I didn't know who he was until I got some cues from the news on who he was, and I didn't know his name until yesterday. Okay? That's okay. I don't know everybody, but everybody wants to act like they got knowledge they don't have. And when they went to Trump and asked the question, you could hear the camera noises. They were going nuts because they thought he's some big famous guy. He is in D.C., but not outside of the Beltway. And they thought they were going to get some big scandal going. Oh, Joe Kent said there's no threat from Iran and he's resigned from the administration. And when this story broke yesterday, I went online and just looked him up. I read his Wikipedia. And what I read in his Wikipedia was disturbing. He's a CIA guy. He's a very big covert operator. They got a name for it. Hold on, let me look him up and I'll find it because it's something I'd never heard of before. He is a big time. Now they may have updated his Wikipedia. They do that sometimes. Now listen to this. And once you're in the CIA, you're always in the CIA. Joe Kent. This is something I've never heard before. He was a CIA paramilitary officer. What is that? He was a CIA paramilitary officer. I've never even heard of that before. But you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like a CIA, it says right here on his Wikipedia, Central Intelligence Agency paramilitary officer. That sounds like a guy that the CIA sends into other countries to bring down governments in other countries or lead assassin squads against people in other countries. That's some hardcore deep state CIA stuff. Paramilitary officer for the CIA? That means he's a secret black ops soldier of some sort, doesn't it? So when I saw that, I started thinking, uh-oh, sirens started going off. And this is what popped in my mind. Because they started telling us about his connections to Tucker. Laura Loomer said that she described Joe Kent as an acolyte of Tucker Carlson, an acolyte. Very strange word, but it's meaningful. And then I was thinking, well, wait a minute. Tucker Carlson said on Saturday he's under investigation by the CIA, which is Radcliffe. They referred him to the Justice Department for a criminal referral. Okay. Now, Laura Loomer says Joe Kent, who resigned, is a Tucker Carlson acolyte. I look him up. He's a CIA guy and a really deep CIA guy because he's whatever a CIA paramilitary officer is. And boom, there's a connection between him and Tucker that led to this. Now, Radcliffe is the CIA director, and he's a very good MAGA guy, and he's doing great work. But there's a connection, and then we find out he's a big leaker. He was responsible for the signal chat problem when that reporter got in with Hegseth last year. And they said that they've known about him being a leaker for a long time. So if you remember when on Monday's show and over the weekend on my podcast, I was covering the Tucker Carlson CIA story that Tucker dropped. And what I was telling you all was, wait a minute, something's not kosher here. And then I was telling you, because Tucker was recently at the White House, I said, I betcha that the White House was using Tucker to give false intelligence to the Iranians. And now I'm thinking Joe Kent is a part of that. Whatever this investigation is into Tucker, I bet you Joe Kent's involved in it too. There's some connection between Joe Kent and Tucker's CIA investigation. There's something going on here with the two of them. There's crossover with those investigations. And it looks to me, reading all the insider accounts and interviews that came out about this Joe Kent guy yesterday, that the Trump administration, if you're on hold, I'm going to take calls after the top of the hour, okay? I know a lot of you have been on hold a long time. My apologies. There's a lot to cover, but I'll go to the calls after the top of the hour. It looks like, if you read the insider people like Loomer, it looks like, because people are like, why would they give this guy, he was leaking in the signal chat fiasco with Hegseth, why would they put him over there with Tulsi? They kept him in place to use him to leak information to the enemy. That's what they were doing, I believe. They wanted him to leak at that point. They knew he was a leaker, so they started to use him as a leaker. So your thoughts on all of that certainly are welcome. My name is Brian. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. Callers on hold, hang in there. We'll go to the phones after the top of the hour break. And I got a new thought on who Tucker might be working for, which I'm going to tell you after the break as well. All right, the number is 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Those of you that are going on our cruise, if you've not yet done it, please check in on the app or on the Celebrity Cruise website. And if you've not done it, call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot. He'll help you do it. It's really important you do that before you go to the port on Sunday, all right? All right, it's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll take our break for the top of the hour and be back after this. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, we have a bad connection. My name is Elizabeth.
Hey,
I'm calling
Elizabeth.
from North Palm Beach.
All right, Elizabeth, hold on.
How you?
And by the way, the link to the Epstein book is in the description of the video. TEI, the Epstein investigation. I'm reading this book. It is fascinating. And it's very thoroughly researched and documented, and it is a great read. It really is. And there's a direct link in the video. It's available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and free if you've got Kindle Unlimited. I have Kindle Unlimited, so I got it, but with Kindle Unlimited, it's free. But if you don't have Kindle Unlimited, still buy the book. The link is in the description of the video. The Epstein investigation, TEI, on Amazon. Okay. Okay, we got about a minute, and we'll be back. Yeah, Bruce, it's really good. I mean, when I read the first page, I'm like, wow. I downloaded it right before the show yesterday, and I started reading it, and I'm like, oh man, I got to be on the air. I can't. I can hardly stop. I'll probably finish it on the cruise. All right, we got about 35 seconds. It's almost time. All right, the 8 o'clock hour has begun. Callers on hold, stand by. You know, I was talking earlier in the week how I packed for the cruise a week early. And what happened was this, okay? We have a cruise group for our MAGA cruises on Facebook. It's exclusive to people that go on our cruises. And people have been posting photographs from our cruise last year, that we're on last year's cruise, that are all excited about this year's cruise. And I saw some pictures, one in particular of me on one of our cocktail parties on the magic carpet. And I had lost 25 pounds right before last year's cruise, but I didn't buy any new clothes. And I was wearing one of my Hawaiian shirts that I only really wear these on the cruises for the most part. And I saw it, and my stomach looked huge because even though I had lost all that weight already, I was wearing a shirt for the old me, and it had all that extra area in the stomach area. And I didn't realize, and I was like, are you kidding me? So I said, there's no way, I got to go through my clothes. So the reason I packed early is I wanted to try on all my clothes and get rid of all those old, I guess, I hate to say fat clothes, because I wanted to, like I'm wearing a t-shirt right now that fits perfectly like it's supposed to on my flat stomach. And I didn't realize that I was wearing shirts that were so big for me on last year's cruise. So I got rid of those shirts that didn't fit me properly, and that's why I packed early. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Losing the weight was so easy, and I've kept it off. I did 0 exercise, and I still do 0 exercise. So not only did I lose the weight without exercise, I've kept it off. Now I'm here to tell you that if I would have exercised, I would have lost weight faster. But without exercising, without starving myself, without pills, without injections, eating foods I would normally eat, I still lost about a pound a day. And about a pound a day was fine with me without the exercise. And because I didn't have any big lifestyle changes, I was able to keep the weight off. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret no matter where you're located, no matter how much weight you want to lose, whether it's 25, 35, or 445 pounds or more or less or somewhere in between. Do it. Call them. Schedule your no-charge consultation right now. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Carlos, Port St. Lucie, Florida.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, on that gasoline situation, if I was pumping gas and they would approach me, hey, how does it feel paying so much? Hey, I'm paying $3.79 now for a gallon of gas because we're at war with a major gas producer. What was Biden's excuse when we were paying $4.05 a gallon?
There you go.
Can you answer that?
That would have been great. You probably wouldn't have made it to the air.
Great.
They probably would have edited that one out.
That's what I had today. Thank you,
That's
sir.
a good one. All right, good call. A guy from Port St. We got some great callers, and Port St. Lucie is filled with smart people. And St. Lucie County, there's Pam Bondi's got at least one grand jury going in St. Lucie County at that courthouse in Fort Pierce. And you can tell by our St. Lucie County callers, very smart people in St. Lucie County. So hopefully some of them are on the Pam Bondi grand jury. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how's it going? My name's Teresa. I'm from Grand County, Colorado.
Okay. There we go.
How's it going?
It's
where
going.
you guys-
I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. It's going well since you asked. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. It may be your first call, but it's not mine. All right, getting back to everything. So before the top of the hour, I was telling you about this this story with Joe Kent, and I really truly believe there's some connection between this CIA investigation of Tucker and Joe Kent. I really believe that. When you look at everything, the timing is just, it's too off. And you know what I'm guessing? Why did he quit? Because they want you to think that he quit to take some high moral stand, about Iran. No. He found out they're onto him, is what happened. He found out they're onto him. So we got out of Dodge. But I had a new theory about Tucker. It's just a theory. A lot of people think that Tucker's working for Qatar or Iran. You keep hearing all this stuff, which he's denied. And when this Joe Kent stuff happened yesterday, there were a lot of videos of Tucker circulating in relation to Joe Kent. And then I saw the video of him when he went into that Russian grocery store, when he went over to interview Putin. And Tucker had been trying to get an interview with Putin for years. And he finally got it. That interview was useless. He didn't ask him one question that was important. Did he? No. It was a useless interview. It was an interview in name only, right? And I didn't think about it then, but now after Joe Kent, the CIA investigation, is it possible that if Tucker Carlson's working for some other country somehow, that it's not Qatar or a Muslim country, but it's Russia? When Tucker said over the weekend, he announced on his show that he's under CIA investigation, been referred to the Justice Department, right? He says, I have no secrets to sell. That very well is probably true. But what Tucker Carlson does have is a platform where he reaches millions of people every week, and he can cause dissension, which he has. Since the Never Trumpers assassinated Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson has led what is being described as a MAGA civil war. He's not MAGA. But you hear this MAGA civil war talk. You got him. You got Megyn Kelly and a whole bunch of others who are doing all kinds of stupid things. And if you look back at the history of Russia and what they do involving the United States, most of the things we find out from Russia, you get an occasional spy thing here and there, but mostly what they do is infiltrate movements and spread misinformation in this country and cause dissent. And certainly Tucker can do that. And the last time I remember there being a Russian spy in the country was just a few short years ago. Remember that Russian lady who went to the NRA convention and was having sex with all those Republicans? Remember all of that? She wasn't looking for secrets. She was trying to get a narrative, get involved with spreading narratives. Then in 2019, 20, and 21, there was a lot of and in 2015 and 16, there was a lot of reporting how Russia was using Facebook and starting fake activist groups. And sometimes they said there were political demonstrations, Black Lives Matter and conservative groups. Both of them were fake groups set up by Russia. So Russia is a lot about getting false narratives going through media and social media. So if and I don't know that, I'm not saying that Tucker's working for any foreign power, but a lot of people in the know are saying that. And now we see this thing with Joe Kent. I'm starting to wonder, is it more likely he's working for Russia, if he's working for another country, than he is working for Qatar, as an example? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Grand County, Colorado. This is Harrison speaking. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing.
Hey, I was watching a past episode, and I was wondering, did you really spend $40,000 on a Trump hat?
No, but I have a Trump hat that is worth over $40,000. But I didn't pay for it.
Oh, how do you assume that? How is it worth $40,000?
Well, since you asked, I was invited to a private cocktail party with the president at Mar-a-Lago. Okay. And and being a guy with some connections, I got invited for free. There were other people at the cocktail party, but they had to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to get into this cocktail party with the president that I got into for free. If you donated over 40, I can't remember the exact number, over 40. It was over 40,000. If you donated over $40,000, you got a special autographed MAGA hat, autographed by the president. It's a very unique MAGA hat. And I'm sitting down at this cocktail party, and there's this girl in front of me named Liz Willis, who's well known from being with Right Side Broadcasting years ago. Liz Willis. And Liz Willis, she comes back to the table and she's wearing one of these $40,000 something autographed hats. And I said, how'd you get that? And she said, they got some extras. I asked for it and they gave it to me. But they have them hidden under the table. I said, well, I want one. And Liz Willis said, come with me, Brian. We're going to get you one. We go out there and I asked them for the hat. They put it on the and I got it for free. And everybody else other than me and Liz Willis had to donate over $40,000 to the re-election campaign to get it. And I have it in a safe deposit box at the bank now. So yes, to answer your question. Is that it? I guess that's it. I guess he's floored. He didn't think. I was very excited to get that hat. And the reason it's in a safe deposit box at the bank, okay, is because when I got the hat, I was so excited. On my way home from Mar-a-Lago, I was wearing the hat in my car, and I made a video on YouTube bragging about it. And my wife said to me, Brian, do you think it's smart to tell everybody you got a $40,000 hat in the house? I said, I guess not. So the next day when I got off the air, I took it to the bank and put it in the safe deposit box at the bank. Because no, it's not smart to tell people such a thing. And it is a family heirloom that my family will have forever and ever and ever. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Yeah, I know. And I remember when I got the hat, you know, because these people that were at this cocktail party are big time, big money people because they donate a lot of money to be there. When I came back into the cocktail party with the hat on, people were talking to me that weren't talking to me before, and they were trying to figure out who I was. They knew, they thought they knew that because I had the hat on, I was worth millions of dollars and somebody very well connected. And they kept coming up to me trying to figure out who I was. And I was very cryptic about it because I didn't want to tell them the story. And it was more fun to have the, it was fun to have the mystery. All right, the rest of you on hold, stand by. If you want to see the hat, it's on my Instagram, a picture of it somewhere from when I went. But I did make a YouTube video after. It's been a couple of years, so I don't remember, what the date was, but you can find it. All right, it's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. We'll take a break and be right back. All right, and it's time to check in with Attorney Barry Seagull from the Seagull Law Group. Attorney Barry Seagull, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. What do you have for us this morning?
Well, a question I often get is, what happens if you die without an estate plan in the state of Florida? And, the bottom line is you're not going to like the answer. The answer is that the state of Florida has a plan for you. It's the default plan under the rules of intestacy, under the Florida statutes. And that means that your stuff is still in your name. It's going to, number one, go through probate. And as we know with probate, that means delays, court involvement. It means a lot of money, paying attorneys in the courts. It's a public process, and it's just something you don't want to leave for your loved ones to have to deal with. And also, you're leaving things up to the courts and the judges, people who don't know you. Like, think about it. Like, when you go out to dinner this coming weekend, are you going to let the waiter choose what you're going to have, or are you going to choose your own meal? So same thing with the courts. Do you want to let the judge get involved and make decisions, or do you want to make your own decisions about your own legacy, let alone a meal? So, again, you want to make sure that you make your own plan and not leave it to the default of Florida, because that way you don't have the court making decisions. That way you avoid probate, and you get to plan your own legacy.
Yeah, and you know the inner workings of your family. When you have someone who doesn't know the inner workings of every individual family member, somebody could end up with money that shouldn't have it, not just because you don't want them to, but there could be some other reasons. You know, that son that's never had a job, or has or that daughter that's had the substance abuse problems. I mean, there's all kinds of family drama, right, Barry?
Well, yeah, and there's all kinds of things that you may not be able to, that the rules of intestacy aren't going to cover, just like you pointed out. And also, the rules of intestacy have rules about who gets what. So the people getting your assets may not be who you would have wanted. Maybe the people you profusely don't want your assets to go to, and it could end up going to them. So you got to be really careful. Make sure that your wishes are known and that they're put in writing in a will or a trust. That way, at least, with the will, at least your wishes are known, but your stuff will still go through probate. With a trust, you're going to be able to make your wishes known and avoid probate.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, give the Seagull Law Group a call. And when you mentioned you heard Attorney Barry Seagull on the program, you get to take advantage of that no-charge in-office consultation. The number is 855-FLA-3782, 855-FLA-3782, and online, SeagullLawGroup.com. All right, Attorney Barry Seagull, we'll talk later in the week.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, take care, take care. That last caller about this is a funny thing about this business, okay? He called in and he says, I was watching an old video of yours. I don't know, that was a couple of years back, right? That when I got that hat. I've been on the air so long. This happens all the time. It's just you get used to it. Everything you ever think about this, all you guys out there. This is what it's like when you do things like this. Everything you ever say is pretty much recorded somewhere. I have people, when I meet people in person or on the group, people will bring stuff up that I said or that happened to me over 20 years ago sometimes. And you're always held accountable all the time, at all times, for everything. And and the only people that run into trouble with that are people that aren't truthful right? You know, when people are public speakers, whether they're a broadcaster or a public person of any kind, and they're not truthful, they run into trouble. But when you're truthful, you know, you never run into trouble, because when you talk about things that happen to you, if they're truthful, you remember them. When people start making up lies, that's when they run into trouble. And I'm, you know, when it comes to YouTube, I mean, I've been on YouTube and other platforms for so long. There's so many years of archives. But there used to be this guy he's got to be long dead, because I haven't heard of him in a long time. But there was before there was the internet, there was a caller who went by the name Marty the Watchdog. And people still ask me about this guy. And this is before the internet. And he was, when I first started in talk radio, and I was new, and you know, when you're new and you're on the air, you're insecure. I didn't have the skill set that I have today with callers, you know, because I was new and still learning the craft and all of that. And what Marty the Watchdog did, this was before the internet. Now, you know, you can just go to my YouTube channel and pull something up any day of the week, you know, and call me out on the carpet. Good luck. And people do try to do that on occasion. But this was before the internet existed. And what Marty the Watchdog, he was a big radio fan. And he came up with a way where he could, the station that I was on at the time, it was one of the greatest talk radio stations in the South Florida market in history. And the South Florida radio market, this market historically has been the most exciting radio market in the country. People talk about LA and New York. South Florida, and South Florida goes from the Treasure Coast south, has had the greatest radio market ever for all kinds of reasons, okay? Namely great talent and great stations. And this is back in the days of the old WFTL, not that new retread thing that they call WFTL. It was 1400 WFTL. It was a tiny radio station with a 1,000 watt signal, and it was located off of Oakland Park Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, and you couldn't even get the signal in Boca. You couldn't get the signal in Holland. It didn't even cover all of Broward County, but it was a massive station in popularity because it was so exciting. And Steve Kane was the program director and made the wise decision to put me on the air there. But what Marty the Watchdog did is he hooked up his VCR to his stereo at home, and he would record it in the worst format, you know, where you get the most out of your tape. So he would get like 6 to 8 hours of audio recordings on his VHS tape. And he listened to the radio all day when he was at work. He was an auto mechanic. And when he heard somebody say something stupid, he would write down the time. And when he got off work, he would pull the audio off his videotape, and he would call on our station. He did it. He did it a lot on our radio station, but he did it on other radio stations too, all over the market. And he would call people on the air. And when Marty the Watchdog called in, people would get scared because they knew they were about to get nailed. It was great. And he would play an audio. He would ask a question. He would catch you in hypocrisies. He would ask you a question. People would answer. And then he would play what you said in the past, right? And he had everything archived, and he humiliated people. And I was on the air overnights back then, live from 3 a.m. till 6 a.m. And then on Friday night, Saturday morning, I was on the air 3 a.m. till 7 a.m. And he would do this to me, but he would call Steve, who was the program director, with things that I said like at 3:25 in the morning, and try to expose me and everything else. I owe him a lot because I guess it led to me getting a full-time gig on the air. But he caught me once or twice. I can't remember what it was. It's been a long time, but I was young. I was like 19 or 20. I had just started, and I wasn't that good, you know, like I am now, of course. And I learned right then and right there that everything you say on the air not only will people remember, but assume, this is what I assume anytime I talk on the air. One, I assume that everybody is listening, right? You know, and what I mean by that is I would never say anything into this mic that I wouldn't say anywhere, because people are listening. Assume everybody's listening, and also assume that everything's being recorded. And since I'm on YouTube every day, everything I've said since I've been on YouTube is recorded. Two, assume that everything that I say is being heard by everyone. Two, assume that everything I'm saying is being recorded, right? And three, assume that people can play it back to you and call you out on it every time. And if you're on hold, stand by. I'm late for the break. When we get back from the break, I'm going to tell you something where a listener tried to do a sting on me with a recording, okay? I'll tell you about it when we get back. I've talked about it before, but it's been a while. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to talk about Life Imaging FLA. Let me tell you, when I went to Life Imaging FLA and had the heart scan, I also had that cancer screening. I was really nervous because I've told you guys, I've had high cholesterol my whole adult life. I've had high cholesterol. Every single doctor I've seen has told me that I am a heart attack waiting to happen because my cholesterol has been so high. My cholesterol has been around about 300 my entire adult life. And when I went over to Life Imaging FLA, I was sweating. I was scared. I didn't sleep the night before. I'm not kidding, because I just assumed that they were going to find all kinds of blockage. I thought that I was going to have to go from Life Imaging FLA to the ER and get checked in to have stents put in or some kind of surgery. I just assumed. My wife, my daughter, my mother for years have just been terrified that I'm in my 50s now, that I was going to have a heart attack. And I just assumed I was going to have a heart attack, probably in my 50s because of my cholesterol. I had that heart scan. I have no blockage, no plaque buildup. I couldn't believe it. I was so relieved and so excited. You know, and by the way, I had the cancer screening too, no cancer either, but it's been life-changing because it's a weight lifted off my back, and I have been a lot more active than I was before, but it's also been a weight lifted off of my mother's back and my wife and my daughter, because they all assumed too I was going to have a heart attack. No blockage, no plaque buildup. It's amazing. That peace of mind has given me a whole new life. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell phone, call pound 250 and say the keyword free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan and you'll be connected in seconds. Callers on hold, stand by. We'll be right back. Oh, man. I love it. It cracks me up. We'll be right back, guys. And guys, remember, there's a direct link to that Epstein book, TEI, the Epstein investigation, in the description of the video. All right, hold on. We'll be back shortly. Okay. Just over a minute. We'll be back. And I'll go back to the phones. Oh, my goodness. Anybody remember Marty the Watchdog? That was way back. I mean, I was a kid then. Yeah. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. All right. Less than 30 seconds and we'll be back. All right, we're back. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning. It's Jim from New York. How you doing?
Hey, Jim. What's up?
So, I'm Marty the Watchdog, a name I haven't heard in a decade.
He was a classic caller. Oh, my goodness.
I think I've told you in the past. I was a kid. I was the bomber and the screamer dude on FTL. Right?
Yeah.
So
I remember you.
I'm very fond of that era. But in reality, I mean, I listened for real, though. I wasn't just harassing everybody. That was the best talk radio ever, anywhere.
Oh,
bar none.
It was crazy.
The best.
It was a crazy radio station, and it wasn't on the air too long.
Well, and you know, it's funny. You mentioned the other day about there was some on YouTube, some vintage Steve Kane from FTL and IOD. It's pretty cool. I've listened to those clips, and it's pretty cool hearing that. So those were the heyday, man. You know, and you guys are replicating it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know, the having the nonstop local combative format was just the best.
Well, you know, I listened to talk radio before I worked in it, and I was a caller like you guys, and I wasn't that good. That's how I ended up doing it. But, you know, I've always loved radio. Radio's awesome. And that radio station in particular, the old 1400 WFTL, went off the air in like 30 years ago. More than that. It went on the air in 91 when the Gulf War started. And I started 9 months after at the station, 9 months after it went on the air, and it got bought and basically taken off the air in that format in like 95. So it was on the air. Yeah. So over 30 years ago, and people still talk about that radio station. And it was on the air for just a couple years and been off the air for 30 plus.
Because there's nothing like it, and there won't be ever again. And it's funny, on a footnote.
No, hold on your thought here. My phones are just been blowing up. I'm sorry I haven't been taking the calls today, guys. I just had so much to cover. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. So I was listening to one of the clips and heard myself.
Oh, really?
On a regular normal call, not being an idiot. Yeah, followed by Blind Mike.
Oh my goodness, Blind Mike. Blind Mike. He was another one. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. God.
That was a tough time for me. I mean, you know, that radio station. It was I'm not going to go through. Maybe one day I'll do a. I keep thinking Steve and I should do a sit down and do a sit down video that I put online of just interviewing Steve and I talking about those old days of radio. But it was that station's no longer on the air. 1400. I don't even know if it's on the air as a regular station anymore. Last time I heard of it, it was Brazilian or something.
You know, I think if you did that, that would get a lot of views, because I'd be all over that, and I know a lot of people would be too.
Yeah, Steve. Steve is the. I tell this to Steve all the time. He's like the last gunman in the Old West, because everyone else is dead. All those personalities from that era are dead. He's the last survivor.
Yeah, right.
He doesn't like it when I tell him that, but it's true.
Well, and the funny part, I would say he's one of the last disciples of Joe Pine, but he's not, because you are. I mean, you're in the direct line of that. You know what I mean? The Joe Pine style,
let me tell. I'll just tell you this. I'll tell you. I love radio and I love talking about it. Radio. Radio used to be an art, and most of the people that are on the air now are more activists than they are radio talk show hosts. And talk radio is an art. And I was very lucky that I got to work with and was mentored by of course Steve Kane and knew many other great talents. And I learned how to do this, from great people that learn from great people. It's like artisans. I learned how to do this from artisans of talk radio. Namely Steve Kane, and sadly that's been gone. And a lot of times with these liberal callers, most of the time, as dumb as they look, I'm only using about 10 or 12% of my abilities at any given time. If I if I went, and you know, because you're a long time, the few times you've heard me go 100% on somebody, and
yes. And well, I tell you, I would say the last of the Mohicans, Joyce Kaufman, but that would be lying through my teeth.
No, she's not in the same.
She's still around.
I don't know. Her show died about 30 years ago, but she's still. That station, anybody could get on the air, and Joyce, she was a manager at a deli that advertised on the radio station. And because of that, she weaseled her way on the air, I guess, probably to keep the spots on the air, And I remember what Neil Rogers used to call her?
Yes.
The pastrami slicer. He's like, but they put a pastrami slicer on the air. I mean, they put anybody on the air. Yes.
Oh yeah, and on the weekend there was some characters. Reverend Pat Hurley. I mean,
Pat Mahoney. Pat Hurley.
Mahoney, that's what it was.
Reverend Pat Mahoney. He's still around. He's in D.C. Not on the air, but he's around.
Kidding.
He's yeah. All right. Hey, listen. I appreciate the call. The Screamer. You were one of the callers. Yeah. How old were you then?
Well, I was 16. And the funny part is being 16, 17, I still work more than these libs that call you.
That's right.
At that age.
That's right. All right. Appreciate the call.
Take it easy.
All right. Take care. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah. Good morning. This is Richie, Brian.
Hey, Richie.
I want to go back with the talk show host said it was the greatest time. It was the reason the talent was so good was because they were that good. And the reason they picked AM radio was a dying thing. All the young people were listening to music. When it came to South Florida in the mid 60s, late 60s, they were all old people. I remember sitting at the pool. I was only 18 years old with my parents. Everybody had a lawn chair, and everyone was listening to Steve Kane and to Neil Rogers and all of them. So the bottom line was the older people were listening to talk. They went to politics, and the young people didn't. They were just music. They went to music, and they went going to the FM station.
That's right.
So this was the greatest. This was the greatest market in the world. You had an opportunity to work from within, and you saw it with your own eyes. I was a great fan. I was, as a young guy, 18 years old, I'm sitting at the pool, and I got involved with all this because it was so darn interesting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and the battle of the talk show hosts when Steve came, everything just came together, man.
What it was, the way it was not it. Everything is great when you're looking back, but it was rough. I mean, there were physical altercations between hosts, and everything was discussed on the air. Like I remember one time, some of these things I didn't talk about for years, but since some of these personalities have since died, it's okay to talk about them. But there was one guy that was on the air with us, and we had a personal appearance, and he was gay, and he was openly gay, and he had this young date with him. And one of the other gay hosts said, "Oh, that guy that he's with, he's a male prostitute." And I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, "Because I had sex with him last week." I was like, "Oh my gosh." So,
my God.
so of course that was on the air the next day, and we had a week-long discussion about this oh my gosh! I mean, the things that happened. But hey, listen, things are a little more higher stakes today because we're trying to save America and make it great again.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that the Steve Kane show with you involved here has lasted as long. People don't realize just how great that is for a show to have been on the air.
49 years.
All these years.
49 years the Steve Kane show has been on the air in Florida.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, not for nothing. But it's been a great success. And the last thing I want to say to you and everyone out there.
Well, we're not saying goodbye today,
Richie.
It sounds like we're saying goodbye. We're not going anywhere. We're going on a cruise.
I'm going to give you a promo here. You with me? All right. I am not going this year on the cruise. I just couldn't get around to going. But anybody I'm going to tell you something. Brian talked about that $40,000 Trump hat that he has in the vault. That cruise makes people feel like they're on a $100,000 yacht, and you're treated like you have no idea how great those cruises are. The food is you're not going to find food like this, and it's all you want, all over the place, and it's music, it's everything. I mean, it's relaxation. It's unbelievable.
And you get to hang out with me for a week, and Steve Kane. You get to hang out with us too. So
next year you ought to think about it. And I believe they're going to be going on their brand new ship next year.
No, and we're not announcing where we haven't told anybody or anything what we're doing.
Announce it. Yeah, I'm not going to announce it, but it's worth going on these cruises. It's really worth.
Well, the next cruise, of course, is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Steve Kane Show. So we're doing something extra special for the 50th anniversary of the Steve Kane Show on the air. All right, appreciate the call, Richie. All right, now I want to talk about, of course, Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I was really nervous about when I first went over to Coastal Weight Loss Secret for a couple of reasons. I'd never been on a formal weight loss program at all. And I had all these expectations in my mind, none of which were true. I thought I was going to have to starve myself. I thought I was going to have to eat food that tasted awful, and that awful food I ate was just going to be a little bit, and I was going to be starving all the time. None of that was true. I thought there had to be some kind of medication, shots, pills, something. None of that either. And what had me really nervous about it is what I was talking about earlier is you guys, because if I didn't lose the weight or I couldn't keep it off, everybody would see on YouTube. And not only did I lose the weight, I lost it fast, about 1 pound a day. I've been in the maintain phase for almost a year. I haven't gained back a single ounce. I have not gained back a single ounce. I have kept all the weight off. I lost more than my goal weight. My goal weight was 25 pounds, and I got to 25 pounds in 3 weeks. So I was like, oh, hey, this is So I went beyond my goal weight, and I've kept it off. You can too. Call Coastal Weight Loss Secret right now and schedule your no-charge consultation, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300, and online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. We'll be right back.
$49.74 to $5,045 before closing at $5,005. That was only down 20 cents, but as I said, we were below 5,000 during the day. Silver lost $1.46, closing at $79.17. Platinum was the only one up, which was up $11 yesterday at $21.28. And palladium was down $8 at $1,588. Overnight, we've seen gold trade, almost at 4,800. Right now, we're at 48.7450. That's down $130.50. Silver is at 77.67. That's down $1.50. Platinum down $91 at $2,037. And palladium down $57 at $1,531 the ounce. So the markets are definitely trending lower at this point. Support levels for gold probably going to be right around $4,200 if we even get that low. Silver around $72.
Oh, well, that's
but we'll see if those buying opportunities come in for us. We should be loading up the truck.
It's exactly loading up the truck. I like that. This is one of those days where the metals are on sale, and I know I'm not recommending any financial advice of any kind. Although I know a lot of people are getting tax returns. I can't think of a better way to put good use to your tax return than buying some gold or silver. Yeah, it sounds pretty good to me, especially at these prices right now. Give Youngerman a call. He opens up at 10 a.m., 1-800-327-5010, 1-800-327-5010, or stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. You can find both his address and phone number online at WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day. Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, the rest of you on hold, hang in there. We're going to get back on track on the issues. This is amazing. Here's another poll. You notice all these polls I share come from CNN, right? All these great polls come from CNN. Listen. Okay, so we've got, among MAGA Republicans, 89% support for U.S. military action on Iran. That's amazing. And I think it's higher. That 9% that disapprove, how many of those are fake Republicans, like that lady at the gas station I was sharing earlier on the program? CNN, for the past, couple of months, has had nothing but positive polls about Trump. It's a very unusual thing. So what's going on here? And you know what I think is going on is CNN. Every poll that CNN broadcast is a positive poll for Trump. Everything. Today I shared that one. The other poll from CNN was the one that congressional Democrats have the lowest approval numbers in the history of polling. Their numbers are lower than the Dead Sea, he said, right? Lowest in recorded history of polling. And I'm starting to wonder what's this trend about. And if you notice, all the trends are in our favor, which shows we're projected to do well in the midterms. I think CNN, that has access to even more detailed internal polls than they broadcast, CNN knows that this is a MAGA nation moving forward for quite some time. They know that, and I'm not talking about for ratings and for their viewers, that's a part of it, obviously, but they know that the movement of this country is in the direction of MAGA for the time being, for quite some time, beyond this term of the president, beyond this midterm. And they understand the change in the country, and they're changing their programming to be an accurate news organization, at least when it comes to polling. Because it seems to me, 9 times out of 10, if I share a poll on this program, it's through a soundbite from CNN. And it's been that way for weeks and weeks. Now, I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas. You know, annuities are amazing to me. When I met Jupiter Joe Thomas, he asked me, he said, you know, do you know about annuities? And I said, yeah, I don't know. I said, I've heard guys talking about them on the radio, but I don't know anything about them. So really, can you explain them to me? He explained to me a couple of things about annuities in less than 5 minutes. I said, why is everyone not in annuities, right? And all these years of hearing people talk about them on the radio, they never explain them properly. With annuities, your money is never at risk. Whatever you invest in your annuity is there. No matter what happens in the market, ups, downs, your money is never at risk, and you're guaranteed an income stream for the rest of your life. Wow, that's amazing. And then another thing I learned from Joe Thomas, he has some annuities where you get bonuses immediately, 10, 15%. So I use 100,000 because it's just easy for me to do the math, right? You invest $100,000 on day one, you've made 10,000, or on top of it. So now you got 110. Or if it's one with 15%, $115,000 on day one before you leave Joe Thomas's office. There's another annuity with a medical clause for an income doubler. So you have a medical condition, and if you're married, you and your wife or you and your husband are both on the annuity, you have a medical condition, your monthly income is doubled. So if you're getting $2,000 a month, now you're getting $4,000 a month. This is amazing. Why isn't everybody doing this? Another thing, I was talking to Joe Thomas about this last week when he was in studio. This is something I did not know. You can leave your annuity to your children or grandchildren. Wow. That's awesome. So, and there's a lot of other great things. But this is what I know. Jupiter Joe Thomas, all right, he's the expert. He knows all about annuities. Call him, talk to him about annuities. The consultation is free, and they are absolutely amazing. Here's the number, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. That's 561-743-0999. And online, jupiterjoe.com. Okay, so just finishing up with everything that's going on, mostly what I talked about on the program today was the Save America Act. And as things stand right now, I think we can safely say it's going to pass. We have everything on our side. We've got the majority of African Americans in favor of it, majority of Hispanics, majority of Democrats, by far over 80% of Democrats, 83% of Latinos, over 70% of blacks. And here I said about 83% of Democrats as a whole. Of course, we've got the Republicans on our side. President Trump said he's not signing any new legislation until this is passed, and that goes for the rest of the time he's president. The House of Representatives said they are not going to advance anything from the Senate until the Save America Act is on President Trump's desk for signature. And we have these Democrats trying to tell us that if it passes, women are going to lose their right to vote. It's going to be 1919 again, and women can't vote. They're pathetic. They're pathetic. Right now, everything is in our favor. Like, you know what they say on the Hunger Games? The odds are forever in our favor on this right now. Now, with that being said, who knows what this afternoon holds or tomorrow holds? But right now, we've got it. And listen, if we only get 50 votes, it passes because we've got the tiebreaker with J.D. Vance. Don't get yourself locked in that we only got 50 votes and had to do the tiebreaker. A win is a win is a win. They win swim meets and races by 100th of a second and all this. So I don't care. If we get 50 votes and we got JD, it's the law of the land. Government issued photo ID to vote, proof of citizenship to register to vote, and some other really good things. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian Craig. This is the longest running radio show in the state of Florida and where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. God bless Donald Trump. See you then. All right, we're clear. Oh man, what a great show today, guys. I appreciate it. Now make sure that if you're new, you subscribe. And those of you who already subscribed, please like the video if you don't mind. You know, when you like the video, it helps get the video recommended to people that have not yet found the channel, okay? And when you like the video, if you get access to that hype feature, please do that, because when you hype the video, it helps a lot, okay? And it gets the show in front of people that have not yet found me, okay? So here's I got a couple things I didn't get to I want to share. Here's President Trump talking about Democrats. Yes, they are. Yeah. Do you agree with that? Democrats do not love our country. Do you agree with that statement? I do. How can you not? They're always pissed off. They hate the country. Here's President Trump yesterday with the Prime Minister of Ireland. Yeah, okay. It'll be another Vietnam. See, I love it. He's not afraid of anything. Here's the thing with this, okay? In Vietnam, the reason that we didn't have a proper outcome in Vietnam is because it was not fought in a way to win the war, right? You know, in Vietnam, the rules of engagement, do you know that our soldiers in Vietnam could not fire first? It was against their orders to fire first. Can you imagine? They could only return fire. I mean, what's that all about? You know, and there were a lot of other problems too. It wasn't just that. But Vietnam was the first war that we were in. We've had others since, Afghanistan and Iraq and other. But Vietnam was the first war we were in that was set up by the military-industrial complex to keep going for years and years and years and never have a conclusion to it. So, you know, now we have a president who doesn't play those games. There would not ever be anything close to Vietnam with President Trump, because he fights to win. All right, here's a nice lady. She's talking about the Save America Act. Okay, so this very beautiful lady here, it's at some cheap TSA checkpoint. Where the heck is this at? What kind of ID does she have that she can't vote with? You have to have a valid government-issued photo ID to vote. The only time under the Save America Act that you've got to show your proof of citizenship is that when you register. So what did it looks like a driver's license to me. Well, no, if it's a government issued photo ID, of course you can vote with it. Now you got to prove your citizenship to register to vote, of course. What's wrong with that? There's something I wanted to mention, and I didn't get to this today. By the way, those new subscribers, welcome to the program. All right, appreciate it. This is where MAGA comes to talk. this is getting a lot of play today, and I want to talk about why this is really happening, okay? Cesar Chavez Day canceled by unions after troubling sexual allegations against civil rights leader. Cesar Chavez and Cesar Chavez Day has been elevated by the left for a long time, and now they're canceling it. They say some sexual allegations. Never heard of that before. That's a cover story. Cesar Chavez, and people are aware of this now because of the internet and everything. This has spread like wildfire over the last year or so. I've known about this my whole life, and most conservatives have known about it too. Cesar Chavez, which is used as a champion by the left to justify all their illegal immigration, Cesar Chavez was like Trump when it came to illegal immigration. Remember, Cesar Chavez was a union leader. And he was very vocal, Cesar Chavez, that illegals were taking jobs from members of the United Farm Workers Union that he was the head of. So not only was Cesar Chavez against illegal immigrants coming into this country, taking union jobs from the United Farm Workers that he represented, he actually led patrols patrolling the border, catching illegals. And the reason that they're trying to cancel Cesar Chavez on the left now is because people are catching on to that. You look up Cesar Chavez online, and it won't be long until you find that out. So they're trying to phase Cesar Chavez out. Well, good luck with that. Yeah, I know. Well, listen, guys, thanks for joining. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you this afternoon on the podcast. And later this morning, I have a new video that's going to drop around 10:30 this morning. So keep an eye out for that on the channel.